why Jaafar chose to speak out. Accepting the role of portraying Michael Jackson was never a decision Jaafar Jackson described as easy. According to his interview reflections, he spent considerable time thinking about what the opportunity truly meant before agreeing to take on the project. He understood that audiences around the world would compare every movement, every expression, and every performance to one of the most recognizable entertainers in history. The responsibility extended far beyond acting. It meant representing a family legacy that had shaped popular music for generations. Jaafar explained that what ultimately convinced him was the belief that if someone was going to tell Michael's story from such a personal perspective, it should be someone who understood him not only as a global icon, but also as a member of the family. He believed there were aspects of Michael's personality, his quiet mannerisms, his interactions with children, and the moments between public appearances that could only be understood through first-hand family experience. That same sense of responsibility influenced how Jaafar responded whenever interviews turned toward his uncle. Rather than approaching difficult questions with confrontation, he consistently emphasized honesty, respect, and context. In the transcript, he explained that portraying Michael was never about creating a flawless tribute or avoiding difficult subjects. Instead, he wanted to present a complete human being whose life included extraordinary achievements as well as real challenges. He described feeling protective of Michael's legacy, but also believed that protecting it meant remaining truthful rather than relying on mythology or sensationalism. According to Jaafar, every important creative decision during the film was measured against a single question: whether it honored the truth as faithfully as possible. That philosophy guided not only his work on screen, but also the thoughtful way he addressed questions from interviewers about Michael's life and legacy. For many viewers, those interviews revealed something that extended beyond the upcoming film. They showed a young actor gradually accepting the responsibility of carrying one of the most famous family legacies in entertainment. Jaafar acknowledged that the Jackson name brings both opportunity and enormous expectations, explaining that while he once tried to establish his own identity apart from it, he eventually realized that embracing his family's history was not a burden but a privilege. Speaking about Michael, therefore, became more than answering media questions. It became an opportunity to share personal memories, offer perspective shaped by family experience, and encourage audiences to look beyond simplified public narratives. That commitment to presenting a fuller picture would become one of the defining characteristics of his journey, reminding audiences that behind every legendary performer stood a man whose work ethic, compassion, and dedication were often best understood by those who knew him away from the spotlight. The respect Michael Jackson earned behind the scenes. To the public, Michael Jackson was known for record-breaking albums, sold-out stadiums, and unforgettable performances. But according to Jaafar Jackson's interview, the admiration Michael earned behind the scenes came from something much deeper than fame. Family members, musicians, and dancers, choreographers, and longtime collaborators often spoke about his extraordinary commitment to his craft and the respect he showed to the people around him. Jaafar explained that growing up within the Jackson family allowed him to hear stories that rarely appeared in headlines. Stories about Michael's dedication, humility, and constant desire to improve. Rather than expecting others to match his standards automatically, Michael often led by example, arriving prepared, studying every detail, and inspiring those around him through his own work ethic. These were qualities that, according to Jaafar, left a lasting impression on everyone fortunate enough to work closely with him. As Jaafar prepared to portray his uncle on screen, he discovered that nearly everyone involved with Michael shared a similar memory. Costume designers remembered his attention to detail. Choreographers described his relentless rehearsal schedule. Musicians recalled his remarkable ability to hear even the smallest musical differences. Yet beyond those professional skills, many also remembered the respect Michael showed toward every member of the production, regardless of their role. In the interview, Jaafar reflected on how these conversations helped him understand that Michael's influence extended far beyond what audiences witnessed during performances. His pursuit of excellence created an environment where everyone was encouraged to give their very best, not through fear or pressure, but because his own dedication inspired the people around him to reach higher standards. Those personal accounts became just as valuable to Jaafar as studying Michael's famous performances because they revealed the character that existed behind the global superstar. Those experiences also shaped Jaafar's understanding of why Michael continues to command such deep respect decades after his greatest achievements. While fans remember the moonwalk, the music videos, and the concerts, the people who knew him professionally often remember something less visible: his discipline, generosity, and relentless commitment to creating the highest quality work possible. According to Jaafar, portraying Michael meant capturing not only the public icon, but also the quieter qualities that defined him when cameras were absent. Those qualities, he believed, explain why so many collaborators still speak about Michael with admiration long after their work together ended. As this documentary continues, that deeper understanding becomes increasingly important, because respecting Michael's legacy is not simply about remembering his accomplishments, it is also about understanding the values and experiences that shaped the man behind them. Those lessons would later help Jaafar face another challenge that every member of the Jackson family eventually encounters: living under the constant weight of comparison. For much of Michael Jackson's life, public opinion was shaped by headlines, television debates, and constant media attention. As one of the most recognizable people on earth, nearly every aspect of his life became a topic of public discussion. Over time, countless stories, opinions, and interpretations circulated around the world, often creating a version of Michael that many people accepted without ever meeting him. During his interview, Jaafar Jackson reflected on the difference between that public narrative and the Michael his family knew personally. Growing up within the Jackson family gave him a perspective that could never be captured through newspaper articles or short television segments. While he understood that people would always have different opinions, he emphasized that his memories of Michael came from real family experiences rather than public speculation. Those experiences, he explained, reminded him that there was a human being behind the global icon, someone whose everyday personality often looked very different from the image created through years of media coverage. As Jaafar prepared to portray Michael on screen, he realized that one of his greatest responsibilities was separating documented reality from assumptions that had accumulated over decades. In the interview, he described spending countless hours studying footage, listening to stories from family members, and observing subtle details that audiences rarely noticed. It wasn't enough to imitate Michael's voice or master his choreography. Jaafar wanted to understand how Michael interacted with the people closest to him, how he expressed emotion, and how he behaved when no audience was watching. Those personal memories, combined with careful research, allowed him to approach the role from a place of authenticity rather than imitation. According to Jaafar, portraying Michael honestly meant acknowledging his complexity instead of reducing him to either an untouchable legend or the simplified character often presented through public narratives. Perhaps that is why Jaafar's perspective has resonated with so many people. Rather than asking audiences to ignore history or dismiss difficult conversations, he has encouraged them to examine Michael's life with fairness, context, and an appreciation for verified information over speculation. His reflections suggest that understanding someone as influential as Michael Jackson requires looking beyond headlines and recognizing the difference between public perception and personal experience. That balanced approach has become one of the defining themes of Jaafar's journey, not only as an actor, but also as a family member carrying forward an extraordinary legacy. Yet embracing that legacy brings another challenge altogether. No matter what achievements Jaafar accomplishes, comparisons with Michael are inevitable. Learning how to face those expectations while remaining true to himself would become one of the most important chapters of his own story. How Jaafar learned to handle constant comparisons. From the moment Jaafar Jackson was announced as the actor who would portray Michael Jackson, comparisons became unavoidable. Every newly released photograph, rehearsal clip, or interview sparked discussion across social media and entertainment news. Fans examined his facial expressions, vocal delivery, posture, and dance technique, searching for similarities between nephew and uncle. For most actors, stepping into a major role means portraying a well-known character. For Jaafar, it meant embodying one of the most recognizable performers in modern history, a figure whose movements and stage presence remain instantly familiar to millions around the world. During interviews, Jaafar acknowledged those expectations without trying to escape them. He understood that comparisons would always exist, but he also recognized that simply copying Michael would never be enough. His responsibility was to understand the person behind the performance and portray him with honesty rather than imitation. Preparing for the role demanded years of discipline. According to Jaafar, he immersed himself in archival footage, concert recordings, rehearsals, interviews, and family memories, carefully studying not only Michael's famous performances, but also the quieter moments that revealed his personality. Dance rehearsals became daily routines as he worked to master movements that audiences had admired for decades. At the same time, he paid close attention to Michael's voice, posture, gestures, and emotional expressions, recognizing that authenticity depended on countless subtle details rather than spectacular dance sequences alone. Throughout the process, Jaafar repeatedly emphasized that he was not attempting to replace Michael or compete with his legacy. Instead, his goal was to honor the story with respect and accuracy, allowing audiences to reconnect with Michael's life through a carefully researched performance rather than through imitation for its own sake. Over time, Jaafar developed a perspective that helped him navigate the constant comparisons. Rather than viewing Michael's legacy as an impossible standard, he came to see it as a source of inspiration and responsibility. He accepted that audiences would naturally compare his performance to the real Michael Jackson, but he remained focused on presenting an honest portrayal grounded in preparation, family insight, and respect for the extraordinary artist who came before him. In many ways, those comparisons became less about measuring two performers and more about preserving the memory of one of history's greatest entertainers. As Jaafar continued speaking publicly about the project, it became increasingly clear that his journey was not only about acting, it was about protecting a family legacy that has remained under global attention for decades. That responsibility would soon lead him to confront an even greater challenge: defending the humanity of someone the world often knew only through headlines and public debate. For the Jackson family, preserving Michael Jackson's legacy has never been as simple as celebrating his music. Every new documentary, interview, book, or public discussion inevitably brings renewed attention to one of the most recognizable figures in entertainment history. As a member of that family, Jaafar Jackson has grown up knowing that conversations about Michael often extend far beyond his artistic achievements. During interviews, he has acknowledged that carrying the Jackson name comes with responsibilities that few people can fully appreciate. Every public appearance becomes an opportunity not only to discuss his own work, but also to answer questions about a legacy that has been examined from every possible angle. Rather than responding emotionally, Jaafar has consistently emphasized the importance of respect, thoughtful dialogue, and remembering that behind the public icon was a real person whose life continues to matter deeply to those who knew and loved him. According to his interview reflections, that perspective has guided the way he approaches even the most difficult conversations. Preparing to portray Michael in the biographical film strengthened that sense of responsibility. Jaafar explained that the project was never about recreating famous performances alone. It was about presenting a balanced portrait of an extraordinary artist whose life included remarkable achievements, personal challenges, and moments of profound humanity. Throughout the interview, he emphasized that his goal was to honor Michael's memory through careful preparation, honesty, and respect, rather than through exaggeration or sensationalism. Family stories, personal memories, and extensive research all became part of that process, helping him understand that preserving a legacy means acknowledging complexity instead of reducing someone to headlines or public narratives. For Jaafar, representing his uncle on screen and speaking about him in interviews carried the same underlying purpose: encouraging audiences to see the complete individual rather than a simplified public image. Ultimately, protecting a family legacy is not about controlling public opinion or expecting everyone to share the same perspective. It is about ensuring that history is approached with fairness, context, and respect for the people whose lives are being discussed. Jaafar's interviews reveal someone who understands that meaningful conversations are built not on confrontation, but on patience, evidence, and personal experience. By speaking calmly and thoughtfully whenever Michael's name arises, he has shown a determination to contribute to those conversations in a constructive way, while honoring both his family's history and his uncle's extraordinary artistic contribution. That approach has earned admiration from many viewers who see in Jaafar not only a talented actor, but also a thoughtful representative of the next generation of the Jackson family. As we move into the next chapter, we explore why that commitment extends beyond defending the past. It is also about carrying Michael Jackson's legacy forward into a new generation that continues discovering his music, his artistry, and the enduring influence he left on the world. Why the Jackson family continues to defend Michael's. For the Jackson family, conversations about Michael Jackson have never been limited to discussing a legendary entertainer. To the world, Michael became an international icon whose music, performances, and achievements transformed popular culture. But to his family, he was also a son, a brother, an uncle, and someone whose personality extended far beyond the public image seen on television screens. That difference in perspective explains why family members have often spoken publicly when they believe Michael's humanity is being overlooked. During interviews, Jaafar Jackson has emphasized that while millions recognize Michael for his extraordinary career, his family remembers countless private moments that revealed kindness, humor, generosity, and genuine affection for those around him. Those memories shape how they respond whenever conversations reduce Michael to headlines rather than acknowledging the complete individual they knew personally. According to Jaafar, preserving that human side is just as important as celebrating Michael's artistic accomplishments. Throughout his interview, Jaafar reflected on the responsibility of portraying not simply a global superstar, but a real person whose life contained joy, sacrifice, determination, and vulnerability. He explained that one of his greatest priorities was capturing the emotional truth behind Michael's public image, rather than creating an exaggerated version designed only for entertainment. Family stories, conversations with relatives, and first-hand memories helped him understand that Michael's character was often defined by qualities that audiences rarely witnessed during concerts or media appearances. According to Jaafar, those quieter moments revealed an individual who cared deeply about creativity, family, and the people around him. By sharing those experiences, the Jackson family hopes audiences will remember that history should never reduce a person's life to isolated controversies or simplified narratives. Instead, they encourage people to consider the full complexity of Michael's journey and the many different roles he played throughout his life, as an artist, humanitarian, family member, and human being. Ultimately, defending Michael's humanity is not about asking everyone to reach identical conclusions or dismiss difficult chapters of history. Rather, it is about ensuring that discussions remain balanced, respectful, and grounded in the understanding that extraordinary public figures are still human beings with families who continue living alongside their legacy. Jaafar's thoughtful approach during interviews reflects that philosophy. Rather than responding with anger or confrontation, he consistently encourages audiences to look beyond assumptions and appreciate the broader story of a man whose influence reached far beyond the stage. For the Jackson family, honoring Michael means remembering not only the performer who inspired millions, but also the individual whose compassion, dedication, and creativity shaped the lives of those closest to him. As we approach the final chapters of this documentary, the focus shifts toward the future, toward a new generation that is discovering Michael Jackson's work for the first time, and toward the role Jaafar hopes to play in carrying that remarkable legacy forward with authenticity, respect, and purpose. The new generation carrying Michael's legacy forward. Every generation discovers Michael Jackson in its own way. Some experienced his rise through television broadcasts, sold-out stadium tours, and record-breaking albums. Others know him through streaming platforms, documentaries, social media clips, and performances that continue circulating decades after they first captivated audiences. Now, a new chapter is beginning through the upcoming biographical film. A younger generation will encounter Michael's story through the performance of his nephew, Jaafar Jackson. During his interviews, Jaafar has described this opportunity as far more than an acting role. For him, it represents the responsibility of introducing Michael's artistry and humanity to audiences who may know only fragments of his extraordinary career. Rather than simply recreating famous moments, Jaafar hopes to present a fuller portrait of the man whose creativity transformed music and entertainment forever. According to his reflections, that sense of responsibility has guided every stage of his preparation, from studying archival performances to drawing upon personal family memories that reveal a more intimate understanding of Michael's character. At the same time, Jaafar has made it clear that carrying Michael's legacy forward does not mean attempting to become Michael Jackson. Throughout his interview, he emphasized that his goal is to honor his uncle's life while remaining authentic to his own identity. He understands that comparisons are inevitable, but he believes the greatest tribute is not imitation. It is respect, dedication, and a sincere commitment to telling Michael's story with honesty. Family members have supported that approach, encouraging him to focus not only on mastering the famous choreography and stage presence, but also on capturing the quieter qualities that defined Michael away from public attention. Those lessons, shaped by personal experience and careful research, have helped Jaafar approach the role with humility rather than pressure. According to him, preserving Michael's legacy means ensuring that future audiences appreciate both the extraordinary performer and the compassionate individual remembered by those closest to him. Looking ahead, it becomes clear that Michael Jackson's influence extends far beyond one generation of fans or one era of popular music. His work continues inspiring dancers, musicians, filmmakers, and performers across the world, while new audiences regularly discover the artistry that changed entertainment forever. Jaafar now stands at the intersection of that remarkable history and its future, carrying a family legacy that remains one of the most influential in modern culture. His journey demonstrates that honoring the past is not about living in its shadow, but about preserving its truth for generations still to come. As this documentary reaches its final chapter, one question remains: why does Jaafar Jackson's voice carry such significance at this moment in history, and what does his perspective reveal about the enduring legacy of one of the world's greatest entertainers? The answer brings us to the conclusion of a story that continues inspiring millions across the globe. Why Jaafar's voice matters more than ever? As this story reaches its conclusion, one thing becomes increasingly clear. Jaafar Jackson's voice carries significance, not simply because he is Michael Jackson's nephew, but because he offers a perspective shaped by both family experience and personal responsibility. Throughout his interviews, Jaafar has consistently approached conversations about Michael with composure, respect, and a clear understanding of the extraordinary legacy attached to his family name. Rather than seeking controversy or dramatic headlines, he has emphasized authenticity, careful preparation, and the importance of portraying his uncle as a complete human being. According to his reflections, accepting the role of Michael was never about stepping into the spotlight for personal recognition. It was about honoring a life that inspired millions while ensuring that future generations have the opportunity to understand the person behind the performances. That sense of purpose has defined not only his work as an actor, but also the thoughtful way he responds whenever Michael's legacy becomes the subject of public discussion. The interview also revealed something meaningful about the future of the Jackson legacy. Jaafar repeatedly explained that preserving Michael's memory is not accomplished through imitation alone. It requires honesty, discipline, empathy, and a willingness to present history with balance rather than exaggeration. Throughout his preparation for the biographical film, he studied Michael's performances, listened to family stories, and worked to understand the values that shaped his uncle's life beyond the stage. Those experiences convinced him that the greatest tribute was not reproducing every dance move perfectly, but capturing the humanity that family members remembered so vividly. By sharing those insights publicly, Jaafar has become more than the actor portraying Michael Jackson. He has become a bridge between generations, connecting audiences who witnessed Michael's career firsthand with younger viewers, discovering his story for the very first time. His interviews encourage people to look beyond assumptions and appreciate the extraordinary dedication, creativity, and compassion that those closest to Michael continue to remember. Ultimately, why does Jaafar's voice matter today? Because history is preserved not only through archives and performances, but also through the people who carry its memories forward. Every generation benefits from hearing first-hand perspectives that add depth and context to lives that have often been viewed only through public headlines. Jaafar's reflections remind us that behind one of the world's greatest entertainers stood a family that experienced both the remarkable achievements and the personal moments hidden from public view. Whether audiences agree on every aspect of Michael Jackson's story or not, the opportunity to hear those family perspectives contributes to a broader and more complete understanding of his legacy. As this documentary comes to an end, perhaps the most enduring lesson is this: Michael Jackson's influence continues not only through his music, performances, and artistic innovations, but also through the next generation committed to preserving his story with respect, balance, and authenticity. For millions around the world, that legacy remains as powerful today as it was when Michael first stepped onto the stage, and it will continue inspiring generations for many years to come. Thank you for watching. Until next time, if you enjoyed this documentary, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the lives, careers, and untold stories behind the world's greatest entertainers. Thank you for watching.